Hello there, Dreadfuls. I'm Jean,
I'm Derek.
and welcome to the Dr. Dread podcast, where we explore all things unusual, unsettling, and unexplained. And I have something a little different for you tonight, Derek.
What do you got?
Well, we haven't done a true crime yet.
Ooh.
We haven't done a true crime, so I have a true crime story for you tonight.
Let me guess. Jack the Ripper.
No.
Fuck.
No, not Jack the Ripper. That's probably going to have to be a multi-parter. But this is a true crime with a little odd supernatural twist.
How the fuck does that work?
I will tell you the story of how this works. But this is a true crime with a supernatural twist. It's the murder of Teresita Basa, who is said to have solved her own murder from beyond the grave.
Oh, I think I seen this before. I think I saw a video on it. Yesterday on this.
Really?
Yeah, her mother went to her grave and then she just communicated with her.
Nope, that's a different one then, but this is something different.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I guess there's multiple ghost solving murders now.
Yeah, you'll have to direct me to that video so I can see if that's another one we might have to talk about at some point. But Teresita Basa was born on March 13th, 1929 in Dumaguete City in the Philippines.
Okay.
And from very early on, she was said to be very passionate about her interests, particularly music and gardening.
Okay, music I get, but gardening's a weird hobby.
Hey, she liked her plants. Okay, but her parents, who are on the wealthier side for Dumaguete City, had ended up buying her a piano, a grand Steinway piano, so they had money. And she was taught classical piano, and her mother had an extravagant garden, and so she got to garden to her heart's desire.
That's pretty fucking crazy.
And when she wasn't gardening and wasn't practicing the piano, she was said to be listening to records on her parents' Victrola, which was a very early record player. So today she would have been a vinyl girly. She would have had an appreciation for vinyl.
Yeah, I do too. I like my vinyl.
Yes, well, you and Teresita would have gotten along on that point.
Two different styles of music, probably, but yeah.
Hey, it's all good. But let's see. In 1941, the Japanese invaded the Philippines. Because remember, we're in 1941. So what's happening in 1941?
Second World War.
Very good. Yes, World War II is underway. And so the Japanese invaded the Philippines. Really right after Pearl Harbor, and because the Philippines had been a U.S. territory since 1898, following the Spanish-American War. In the 30s, the Philippines were on the path to independence and were supposed to become an independent nation scheduled for 1946, but World War II messed all that up. But after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, that was really the start of the Pacific theater of World War II. And as part of a broader attack, Japan launched simultaneous strikes on U.S. and Filipino military installations on December 8th, just hours after Pearl Harbor was hit. And so Teresita's home in Dumaguete was a part of that.
Damn. All I gotta say is, we dropped the sun on them twice.
The sun? Oh my god, dude.
I mean, technically that's true.
Different kind of nuclear reaction.
Fair enough.
The sun is nuclear fusion instead of fission, like bombs are. Remember that?
Well, it created a sun look.
Okay, kind of. Anyway, we're gonna move on. So after debating whether they should leave, Teresita's parents decided they were going to stay. Because her father, Pedro, was an influential figure in the Filipino government, and other officials begged him to stay, saying that his counsel would be needed now more than ever. So after much debate, they decided to stay.
That's pretty stupid.
Yeah, well, Teresita was a teenager at this time, so a very formative time for her. So all of this had a profound influence on her. As the Japanese took over, they took over the island she was on, and she was forced to learn Japanese instead of the English that she'd been learning. Because remember, the Philippines had been an English or a United States territory up to that point, so they were learning English. And she was comfortable learning English. She liked it. Now all of a sudden she's having to learn Japanese. You know, she saw her home being taken over by an invading military force. She would have seen a lot of violence. And many Filipinos who were living there were forced into service work for Japanese soldiers. So it was all really not a great time.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody enjoyed World War II.
No, not a good time for anybody involved. But by 1947, so Teresita was 18 at this time, the island had mostly returned to normal, but Teresita was still so affected by everything she'd lived through that she decided to move to Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines.
Okay.
And there she studied music at St. Scholastica's College, where she became very accomplished as a pianist. And after her graduation, she moved to London to continue her studies at the Royal College of Music in London.
Whoa.
Yes, she's in very good company. Gustav Holst, the composer of The Planets, one of my favorite classical pieces, one of my favorite classical composers, also studied there. So she's in very good company at the Royal College of Music.
She must have been pretty damn good.
She apparently was very good. And despite London being a very different place from the Philippines, Teresita loved it there and graduated with a certificate in pianoforte, which we just call the piano now, after 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very good.
It's pretty good if you did that in 2 years.
Yes. So she, like I said, she was very into music and was studying music since she was little. So after returning home, she got her certificate, returned home, and there her friends convinced her to go on a tour of Europe with them.
Uh-oh.
That was something kids did around that time. That was something especially wealthy kids of influential families did, was you had to go on a tour of Europe. It was just part of growing up.
And just see a bunch of bombs drop?
Yeah, this is post-World War II now.
Okay.
World War II is over.
Okay, I was about to say, what's to see?
Remember, this is in 1947 is when she moved to Manila, and then she went to London. So we're a good several years past World War II at this point.
All right.
So her friends convince her to go to Europe with them, and they travel all over. And while they're in Paris, she met Russian composer Alexander Cherepnin, who recognized her talent and sort of became her mentor, and believed she could become a really great composer if she continued her studies.
All right.
And both Alexander Cherepnin and his wife happened to teach at DePaul University in Chicago. They just happened to be on vacation in Paris at the time when they met her.
This is crazy.
Yes, this is crazy. And told Teresita that anytime she happened to be in the United States and Chicago, she was welcome to visit them at any time.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of stayed in the back of Teresita's mind. And then in the summer of 1957, when she was 28 years old, she made her way to America and ended up in Bloomington, Indiana, where she enrolled at Indiana University, still studying music.
Wow.
Yes. Sources differ on this point. Some say she received her diploma there. Some say she was just a few credits shy of graduating. But either way, she left school and moved to Washington, D.C., where she took a job as a typist with a family friend who worked for the government.
This is pretty interesting how her life is going.
Oh, yeah, she was an interesting lady. She did a lot of stuff.
I just have to ask this question. How does this turn to murder?
Well, we will get there. We will get there. We're getting there. Don't worry.
This just sounds like a life story. Then boom, murder just pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah, we're getting there. But so while she's in Washington, D.C., continuing to study music on her own at the Library of Congress, by the way, she attended a diplomatic meeting where she happened to meet someone named Edward O'Meara, a Chicago lobbyist. They hit it off and started dating. But Teresita's visa was set to expire, so she was forced to return to the Philippines.
Oh, shit.
Yes, so in 1965, she returned home. She's 36 at this point. But Edward came to visit her a lot. So things are still looking good for their relationship.
How the hell did he have this much money to keep just going to the Philippines?
He's a lobbyist.
I don't know what the hell that is.
They argue for causes to Congress to pass laws about that people pay them money to go argue to Congress for them.
Oh.
Yes.
So they get paid well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
So anyway, he's visiting her a lot, but remember, Daddy is very influential in the government back in the Philippines. So Daddy is doing some digging and looking out for his daughter. And he found out that Edward had been frequenting one of Dumaguet's brothels on his visits there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that relationship ended really fast. And Teresita was, of course, devastated by this. Yeah. So she was devastated, and she became much more reserved and a private individual, kept to herself a lot more, and that will come up and be important later.
Yeah, I have no comment at this time.
Yeah. If you're supposedly in a relationship with someone, don't go visiting brothels. Don't do that.
That's kind of obvious. I have no comment at this time.
But Teresita picked herself back up and started teaching piano at Silliman University in Dumaguet. But remember, she lived through World War II there in Dumaguet, lived with her hometown being invaded, and she found that she just wasn't really comfortable living there anymore.
Okay, then. That's pretty weird.
Apparently just the memory of living through World War II and seeing her home invaded like that, she just couldn't really feel comfortable living there anymore, and she wanted to return to the United States.
Okay, then.
So during this time while she's in Dumaguet, her visa was approved, and she was finally able to return. And on December 7th in 1971, at age 42, Teresita finally returned to the United States. She had $53 in cash, $345 in traveler's checks, and what little luggage she could carry with her, and that was it.
She seems like she's about to be homeless. She's getting there. Like, why would you go with that much money? Like, I just have to ask this question.
Yes.
She knew it was going to be a bad idea going.
No, she did well when she got there, apparently. Despite having that little money, she apparently did well. She went to the Philippine consulate there, which is a diplomatic office that nations have in foreign countries to help their citizens in that country, like find work and help them if they have any legal troubles, whatever. So she got in touch with the consulate, the Filipino consulate, found an apartment in Chicago, and decided to continue pursuing her studies in music at Indiana University, getting a PhD this time, and found work as a typist again.
Okay, then.
Yeah, during this time, she fell in love with Chicago and decided that's where she wanted to stay. And she wanted to eventually work as a piano teacher, but found the job market for musicians was not great.
Yeah, that's still an issue now.
As that tends to happen.
That's still an issue now.
Yeah, so she didn't want to work as a typist forever, but working as a piano teacher wasn't going to support her fully. So she enrolled as a student at the respiratory therapy program at the YMCA College there in Chicago in 1972. Graduated in 1974 and quickly found work as a respiratory therapist at Edgewater Hospital in Chicago.
I hate to say this, but if she gets murdered in Chicago, that just kind of made sense.
She does. She was living in Chicago.
That just made sense.
Yeah, they call Chicago Chirac for a reason.
Yeah, no offense to people in Chicago, but it's I guess it's Kenny L's thing. It's not. You know what? I like Chicago. I like the Cubs.
Hey, there we go. The Cubs had a fantastic World Series in 2016.
They did.
One of the best damn World Series I've ever seen.
Sorry about the South Side. The White Sox are just bad.
The White Sox have not been good for a while.
Hey.
But yeah, I did not really care about either the Cubs or they were the Indians at that point. Cleveland. They were the Indians at that point in 2016. I didn't really care about either team all that much at that point. And yet that Game 7, when they had that rain delay, I was still just absolutely nerve-wracked at that point. So I can only imagine what fans of both the Indians and the Cubs were going through at that point.
I was cheering for the Cubs.
Oh yeah, because they finally broke the curse.
Yeah, they did.
They finally broke the curse. So I of course I was cheering for the Cubs because that was just cool to see that happen.
For Trevor Bauer.
Was that the World Series where he sliced his hand on the drone?
Yeah.
That was the one where Trevor Bauer sliced up his hand on the drone.
Well, it's the ALCS, I think, or DS, somewhere around that time.
Okay. Something like that. That postseason, anyway.
Hey, but y'all can cheer for the Bulls. The Chicago Bulls.
Hey, they were good for a really long time.
Yeah. I don't know how good they are now. I don't follow the NBA.
They had Michael Jordan, and they were good for a very long time.
They need to bring MJ back.
That's going to be hard to do now.
Yeah, he probably can't, but Chicago Bulls fans probably wish they can bring back prime MJ.
Of course, anybody would wish they could bring back prime MJ. Are you kidding?
Prime MJ versus prime LeBron James would be insane.
Now, that would be interesting to see. Okay, I don't know how we got sidetracked onto sports like that, but anyway.
I don't know.
Anyway, back to Teresita. So, Teresita's landed her new job at Edgewater Hospital, which means a better salary, so she could finally afford a bigger apartment, and one that could accommodate a piano for her. So she finally got her piano, and she continued working on her PhD in music, spent her days working at the hospital, her nights working on her PhD, and she still found time to teach piano to the neighborhood kids for free, in addition to her work and studies.
How the hell did she do that?
She was a busy woman, and she was on it.
She took that mindset like these TikTok millionaires, these fake TikTok millionaires do it, like, you have 24 hours in a day. Make every hour count.
She did.
She did.
Teresita did. And she even ended up forming a small music group with a cousin and some of her coworkers that she got to be good friends with. And they would play at events and parties.
Do they have a bass player?
Probably.
Good.
Probably. And so she kind of started coming out of her shell, getting over her breakup with Edward O'Meara, and started becoming a little more social. And one of the new friends she made was Alan Showery, a coworker from the hospital.
Well, I just have a question. What is it up with Edwards? No offense to Edwards, you're good people, but it just seems like always the Edwards are the weird ones.
I don't know, but this Edward was a bastard.
Well, just look at Edward Cullen. I mean...
Oh, you're going to make a lot of people mad listening. Don't hate on Edward Cullen.
I'm not hating on him, but he was kind of a creep when you look at it. Just look... okay. What...
Okay. The watching Bella sleep at night thing was yes, straight up a creeper move.
He would sneak into her house. I'm just being honest.
That's what I mean. That's a creeper move. Yeah, that is a creeper move.
He would stalk her. Come on.
Yeah, if he wasn't a cool, hot vampire, everything he did would be creepy from anybody else.
He would catch a case.
Yes, he would.
Oh, but he gets a pass because he's a vampire.
He's a vampire. That makes him cool.
No, that doesn't. I still like vampires, but he's not a cool vampire. He's boring. He's a boring character. And then once Bella did all the other stuff, and then he just moaned and he was going to kill himself for a while. And then that and Bella.
Edward was very mopey.
Bastard.
He was mopey. Okay. Anyway, back to Teresita. One of her friends that she met was her coworker, Alan Showery. Then on February 21st, 1977, Teresita was getting ready to leave from her shift at the hospital. She ended up chatting with Alan, and they ended up catching the bus home together. They did that frequently. They lived near each other, so they rode the same bus route home.
Guys, this is where I think she gets killed.
This is where things start to go wrong.
Can I predict her death?
Go for it.
This sounds very weird.
If you want to predict it, go for it.
She gets shot.
No.
Fuck.
No, that is not what happened.
Hold on, I got one more guess.
Yes.
She gets stabbed.
That does happen.
Let's fucking go.
So, Teresita and Alan are on the bus, and Teresita mentions that her TV was having difficulties on the ride home, and Alan says, well, I can come over and take a look at it.
I have a feel like Alan's the one who murdered her.
Alan is the one who ends up murdering
that
her.
bastard! I fucking knew
They
it!
continue talking. Teresita mentions that the drummer in their band might be quitting soon, and Alan says, hey, I play the drums. Maybe I could fill in for you. So Teresita suggests that he buy a ticket to see their next show so he can listen to their music, see if that's something he likes, if that's a style he plays, if it would be a good fit for him. And Alan tells her he doesn't really have any extra money to spare on a ticket to see them play at the time. So Teresita says, all right, I'll get a ticket for you and you can pick it up later.
I knew I just had a weird feeling about this guy.
Yeah, so Teresita reaches her stop at the Pine Grove Apartments and she gets off the bus and goes home.
Is this like some scenes from memory shit?
A little.
Oh, I fucking knew it.
A little.
I just have a sense of these people. Is that bad? I can sense out what happens to these people. I just kind of know.
It's a little scenes from a memory, yes.
Oh.
But anyway, so while she was at her apartment, Teresita allegedly had a few calls, one a fellow band member, and she mentioned the possibility about her friend Alan filling in for the replacement drummer, but she ended that call saying she was expecting company and someone was knocking at her door. And then just a little while later after that, she had another call from her friend Ruth Loeb, a co-worker at the hospital. They chatted for a few minutes, and Teresita mentioned that she had a visitor over at the apartment, and Loeb did say she could hear a male voice in the background over the phone, but Teresita at that point didn't say who it was, and they hung up before she mentioned who it was.
This guy, I just had a sick feeling this guy was going to be a murderer.
Yeah, this guy. Then a little bit after 8:30 that night, Catherine and Mario Nazi, I think is how you spell their name, Knazze, who lived on the 15th floor of the Pine Grove Apartments. I think that was one floor above Teresita's floor. They noticed they smelled something burning.
What?
So they started checking their apartment, looking to see if they had like any electronics burning or something. They didn't find anything. And so Mario opens the door to the hallway, and it's filled with smoke.
Oh, hold on. That's crazy. But I just had to go back. What is up with these fucking names? All these people have these crazy-ass fucking names.
That's just their names, dude. I didn't make them up.
Well, you know what? Get a cooler name.
So anyway, Mario and Catherine began, knocking on all their neighbors' doors, letting everyone know that there's a fire somewhere and they need to GTFO out of the building.
I can reenact this. There's a fucking fire! Run!
Yes, that's pretty much what they did. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a fucking fire. Get the fuck out of the building. So they let people know to get out of the building before leaving themselves. And by this point, the fire alarms in the building had been triggered, so Chicago Fire Department has arrived by this point. And the firefighters had to end up crawling on their hands and knees under the smoke because it had gotten so thick at this point.
What the fuck did Alan do? Did he fucking...
We will get there. And they managed to trace the source of the smoke back to Teresita's apartment. And specifically, they found that the fire was coming from the middle of her bedroom floor.
Did he drop a smoke bomb?
No, he set stuff on fire. So
Did he drop a pipe bomb in a toilet?
No, he did not drop a pipe bomb in a toilet.
Well, you know what? I just had to ask that question.
But, so, the fire department was able to put the fire out. Fortunately, it didn't leave Teresita's apartment and didn't burn down anybody else's apartment.
Well, it doesn't matter. She's dead.
Well, yes, at this point, she's dead. So, the fire lieutenant is investigating and said it looked like someone had tried to set the mattress on fire. Weird. As well as a small pile of clothes on the floor by the bed. Weird.
Okay.
So he kicks the pile of clothes away to see what's on it, and that's when he found Teresita's body.
Burnt.
Nude and with a knife embedded clear up to the hilt of the knife in her chest.
I knew she got stabbed.
Yes, she got stabbed.
And burnt. Well,
and burned.
This is going to be fucked up, but I wonder what killed her first, the knife or the fire or the smoke.
Well, we will get there.
Oh, we
will
get the
to
autopsy?
We will get to that. So, yes, we get what the autopsy said. So, After the smoke cleared, firefighters could see that the apartment had been ransacked, and because Teresita was found nude, they believed it to be a rape and robbery situation. And the fire had clearly been set to try to destroy evidence.
No, Alan's just a bitch.
Well, Alan is a bitch, but yeah, he was trying to cover up evidence.
I could take him on a fight. I could one-on-one him. I could fight Alan.
You think you could fight Alan?
Yeah, Alan sounds like he's 5'9". He weighs 210. And he has weak legs.
Okay.
I don't know where that's coming from, but that's what I think Alan looks like.
Okay.
Do we have a accurate description of Alan?
Just that he was in his 30s and he was an African-American man. I don't know height, weight, stuff like that.
Fuck.
Yeah, don't know that. Sorry.
Damn it. I was just trying to guess height and stature. But you know what?
But
I was wrong.
Anyway, Teresita's body had been badly burned on both sides of her body, her head, and her neck, and there was not much of her hair left. But the heaviest part of the clothing that had been piled on her had actually protected some of her face and her torso and her upper legs.
Well, that just doesn't make sense.
Well, the fire hadn't burned all the way through the clothing pile yet by the time the firefighters got to it.
Huh. Let me guess this. The knife killed her.
The knife did kill her.
I knew it.
So, yeah, the police were summoned and the detectives quickly arrived. And after doing the initial look around the apartment, they were able to identify Teresita from her photos and other personal documents in the apartment. They noticed that there were 3 locks on the door, but none of them had been broken. So, obviously, that means that she likely knew her killer and had let them in.
I just have this to say.
Yes.
You said caught my eye. Summon the police? Like we're doing fucking rituals to summon them?
Summoning just means they asked them to come over and said, hey, we got a body.
Well, you should say they asked them to come over. You should say summon. I thought this is where the supernatural shit comes in.
Summoning in its most basic form just means telling somebody come here.
Fair enough.
Making me go on to definitions of words in the middle of a true crime podcast. Good Lord.
Why not? I'm just trying to get an accurate description of what the hell's happening.
Yes, the police were summoned, meaning they were just asked to come, okay?
All right, I was just making sure. Summon can be used in many different terms, like ritual summons, and then you have hey, come here, asshole.
Yes, that's the secret the Chicago PD doesn't want you to know. Every time you call them, you have to draw a blood circle and ritualistically summon them before they'll come.
Yeah. I was just making sure, because you said there was supernatural shit. I was just seeing if it started here or it starts later.
Okay, well, now you know.
Thank you for clearing it up.
But anyway, yeah, 3 locks, none broken. She let the killer in. The ransacked apartment obviously said robbery. And unfortunately, there wasn't much else in the way of evidence. The only thing really of note that they found was a little handwritten note by the telephone that said, get tickets for AS.
Alan Heisner.
Alan Showery.
Fuck, I said Alan Heisner.
Where did Heisner come from?
I don't know, I thought you said AH.
AS.
Thank you for clarifying.
AS, Alan Showery. But remember, the police don't know who AS is at this point.
Well, you know what? You should just go knock around to every door asking, hey, do you know who AS?
Well, police did go knocking on residents' doors after that, obviously, because they found a body. They want to see if anybody heard anything. But unfortunately, the people in the building were not terribly helpful.
Oh, no. I don't know anything about that woman who got murdered.
Well, remember I said that Teresita had become rather withdrawn and very much a private person? Yeah, even though she was friendly with her coworkers and her group of friends that she had, that didn't really extend to the people in her apartment. She was, polite and pleasant to them when she did interact with them, but she wasn't really close with any of them.
You know what? They probably said this. Well, she's kind of a fucking weirdo. She doesn't talk to anybody.
No, apparently everyone said that she was, perfectly pleasant and nice to talk to, but they just weren't terribly close to her. They didn't see her a lot. The best lead they got was from the janitor of the apartments, who said that he'd seen her arguing a few weeks ago with a white man who looked to be maybe in his 50s in the lobby of the apartments. He said he didn't really hear what they were arguing about, but that the man sounded drunk, and he hadn't seen the man before and hadn't seen him since.
What they don't know is he disappeared in her closet. She killed him.
Is that what happened to this random guy?
Probably not. That's just my theory.
Yeah, and that lead didn't turn into anything, but that was the best thing they've got. Another neighbor said that she had heard, hearsay from yet another neighbor, that a few weeks earlier, Teresita had been, quote, attacked or raped or something like that. But again, that yielded no real information. That was just hearsay as far as investigators could tell. Nothing had happened to her.
She was doing things. I don't know her personal life, so I'm just going to say she was doing things. Like playing the piano or something.
That's what she was doing, playing the piano. So without much else to go on, detectives Joseph Stahula and Lee Eplin of Chicago PD were assigned to the case.
Yeah.
So on their cursory look around the apartment, Stahula noticed that there was a cutting board and some sliced vegetables on the counter, but noticeably no knife. He assumed, and was later proven correct, that the missing knife was the one that had been used to kill Teresita.
Okay.
And they also found an address book with the names and contact information for almost everyone she was close with. So, jackpot for them. Why are you laughing?
I don't know why I'm laughing. They're gonna ring him from ring. Hey, your friend died. Do you know anything? No? Okay, fuck off.
I'm sure they went about it with a little more tact than that.
Probably not.
But they did have to call her friends and family just, to try to see if anybody had any guesses on who might have done this to Teresita. But all they really found out was that although Teresita did occasionally hang out with male friends, she didn't have a boyfriend or anyone she was steadily dating. And they also talked to Ruth Loeb, remember her good friend and coworker, who did confirm that she had talked to Teresita that night and had heard the male voice in the background, even though she didn't know who it is.
She probably said, yeah, I heard something. I don't fucking know.
Yep, but again, that's not a lot to go on for the police, so they were struggling. And the autopsy had come back at that point and found that what killed her was, yes, the stab wound. And the coroner was able to determine that she had also been strangled.
Okay, then.
He apparently, on the part of her neck that was not burned, he was able to find bruising, both on the part of her neck that wasn't burned and on the layers of skin underneath what had been burned.
Strangled with a piece of cloth.
Yeah, we'll get there, but she had been strangled and stabbed, and that is what had killed her.
Okay, then.
And unfortunately, after that, every lead the investigators looked into came up empty. They had nothing.
Let me predict how they caught him. Alan H. murdered a different person.
No, and there's no Alan H. It's Alan
Fuck.
S. It's Alan Showery.
Fuck, my bad. I keep forgetting. I want to call him H for some reason.
S-A-S.
Yeah, whoever the fuck that is.
So they were kind of stymied. They were stuck. The last really any investigating they'd done on it was in April. Remember, she was murdered in February. Where'd that date go?
You never told me she was murdered in February.
That was the day. That was the day she went home.
Apparently
February 21st. There it was. Yeah, there's that day. February 21st. That was the date all that stuff happened at the apartment that we just talked about.
Oh, okay.
So from February and then up until April, they were doing their investigation. And after that, everything just kind of dried up. Investigators were stuck.
Like a bad drought.
Like a bad drought, except this is a drought of leads.
Yeah.
And then a break in the case came from a very strange place.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's going to come from some apartment.
Nope.
I don't fucking know.
Not an apartment. So, a woman who worked at the same hospital with Teresita, Edgewater Hospital, named Remedios Chua, called Remy by all of her friends, an inhalation therapist there, didn't know her well, but had met her a few times.
Wait. Like the rat from Ratatouille?
Yes, the name is pronounced the same.
I just had to ask.
It's short for Remedios, but yes, she was called Remy.
Like the rat from Ratatouille. Okay, that makes
Yes,
sense.
like the rat from Ratatouille.
You know, that rat was a pretty good fucking chef.
Yes, that rat was a very good chef.
He made that fucking dude's mind go places.
Yes, he melted the food critic's mind.
I wonder if he sucked some drugs in or something to make his mind go there. That's all I thought as a kid.
He just made the food that reminded him of his mom's food when he was little. There were no drugs involved.
How did Remy know about that? Was Remy still alive when that happened? How did Remy live that fucking long? Is he like some time traveling mouse or something?
Oh, Lord, child.
How did Remy know? How did he know the secret?
Okay.
I need my Ratatouille too.
Okay. Yes, her name's Remy, like the rat from Ratatouille. Let's go on. So Remy's husband, who also worked at the hospital, and other coworkers did say that although Remy didn't know Teresita well, she became strangely preoccupied with Teresita's life and the case almost overnight. But the way she became preoccupied about it was weird. Rather than like asking people about her, as you'd expect from someone who didn't know her well, she reportedly just started telling people things about Teresita. Facts about her likes, her interests, her life, things that seemed odd that someone who barely knew her would know.
So she was stalking a dead person?
No, she wasn't stalking. This is where things get weird. Remember I said this had a paranormal twist? This is where things get weird.
So you're telling me she came back from the grave, telling this random woman these things?
Wait and listen.
What the fuck am I hearing?
Wait and listen.
Did you make this shit up?
I did not make this shit up. Okay, in July, Remy was sitting in a hospital break room, just kind of closing her eyes, taking a break because, hospital workers work ridiculous hours. And she said she was sitting down, closing her eyes, and all of a sudden, her coworkers say that she jumped out of her seat and ran out of the room like something had scared her. So, of course, the coworkers look in the break room and there's nothing there.
I'm going to tell you what happened while she ran out scared. She came back from the grave and said, "Boo, bitch," and scared her out of the room.
Well, she didn't say boo, bitch, but whatever had scared Remy scared her so badly that she didn't finish her shift. She just went home. And she later told her husband, Dr. Jose Chua, that she just closed her eyes for a minute, and when she opened them, she saw Teresita standing in front of her, just staring at her.
And then she said, "Boo, bitch."
No, she did not say boo, bitch. She just stared at her. But she did see Teresita.
She's like, "I'm back for round 2, motherfuckers."
Teresita kind of did. She came back for round 2.
What we didn't know is she F5'd AS through a table before this.
For those of you unfamiliar, that is wrestling speak.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't mention Brock Lesnar because he's kind of in the whole Vince McMahon thing right now.
Yeah. No.
Trying to think of a friendly. She RKO'd him through a table.
That's also wrestling speak.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you got a problem with that?
But in the days that followed, coworkers reported that Remy's personality started changing a lot. She suddenly became very chatty with her other coworkers when she'd been friendly at work, but not particularly chatty before. And the things she talked about were odd. She talked about the piano, classical music, music in general, things that Teresita had been interested in and had talked about with her coworkers.
Are you sure she wasn't out of her mind that much that she started hallucinating a dead person?
I mean, skeptics still cite that as a theory, but her coworker said that she also seemed to be taking on aspects of Teresita's voice and mannerisms, even.
She possessed her! She possessed her!
We will get there, like at lunch. Even though they never shared a shift together, and that's why they were never terribly close, Remy went straight to Teresita's usual table and sat in her usual chair.
She took over her.
We're getting there. It gets even crazier.
She's a vengeful spirit.
It gets even crazier. And in fact, this change in Remy's behavior started weirding out her coworkers so much that they ended up reporting Remy to their supervisor, Ted Ellis.
They said, "What the fuck is wrong with her?"
Yeah, they were getting a little creeped out because it was like she's all of a sudden acting like Teresita, and they were never terribly close, and it's creeping them out. They think it's kind of weird that she's all of a sudden doing this almost odd like impression of their friend who had been murdered, and it made them really uncomfortable. And so Remy responded by insisting that she wasn't doing anything and complaining that the other coworkers were ganging up on her unfairly and creating a hostile work environment. But the more Ted Ellis, the supervisor, tried to de-escalate the situation, the angrier Remy became, and she was eventually terminated for, quote, gross insubordination.
What the fuck does that mean?
Basically, she's not being respectful of her supervisors.
She lost her fucking mind. She got possessed.
Yeah, she got fired. And then that same evening, when she was fired, she was at home with her husband, Dr. Chua, and Dr. Chua said that Remy started drifting off to sleep in a chair in their living room. And all of a sudden, she stood up from the chair and walked into the bedroom without a word to Dr. Chua, which was out of character for Remy.
Find the nearest priest.
So Dr. Chua went to check on her, and she was laying in the middle of the bed with her eyes wide open.
Well, you know, I'm not obligated to give advice, but if I start seeing a person do that, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to leave now. See you later. Fuck off.
Well, Dr. Chua was a real one, because despite all of that, he still went to go check on his wife and, was trying to ask her if she was okay. At first, she didn't respond, but then when she did start talking, she spoke in something called Tagalog. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it's the national language of the Philippines.
She's possessed.
Yeah, and he said but both Dr. Chua and Remy are from the Philippines themselves, so he understood what she was saying, but he said it was that language spoken with a strange Spanish-sounding accent he'd never heard before, and the voice that was coming from Remy was not her usual voice.
She's possessed, guys. Just say it how it is. She's possessed.
If the story is to be believed, she was possessed. Dr. Chua said Remy started off by saying, "Mama, Mama, are you there, Mama?" And so, of course, Dr. Chua's getting freaked out by this point. He's trying to talk to her and asks her who she is, what's her name at one point, and she replies, "I am Teresita Basa." This is all in that native Tagalog language, by the way.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. And then she says, "Doctor, I would like to ask for your help. The man who murdered me is still at large."
I'm good. I'm going to go sleep in the car. See you later.
Oh, yeah. But Dr. Chua stayed, and he said she babbled on about various other things still in this native language, but then eventually told him he had nothing to be afraid of, and she was just there to ask for his help in solving her murder.
See, what I would have done differently, I've been scared at first, but I've been asking questions I'd be like, okay, who murdered you?
We'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there, because this is not the only time this happened. So, of course, Dr. Chua thought that perhaps Remy was having some kind of episode, like maybe a night terror or a hallucination, just because of, the stuff about Teresita having been murdered and all the stressful week she'd had at work, all the stuff with her coworkers and getting fired. And so he's walking to the bathroom to try to get a washcloth or something to try to kind of snap her out of it. And as he's heading to the bathroom, he says Remy lifted her arm and gestured to the telephone and begged him to call the police and tell them who killed her, and said, "I cannot rest until they know."
Okay. I would be probably like, okay, I'll call the police if you tell me why you're possessing my wife.
Well, they have a few more conversations. At that point, Remy came to abruptly and had no memory of any of those events that had happened. She didn't know anything of what she'd said or what she was doing laying in the middle of the bed.
She'd be like, how the hell did I get here?
Mm-hmm. And then later that evening, around 11 o'clock, their phone rang. Dr. Chua answered it, and a male voice asked for Remy. So Remy went to the phone and answered, listened for about a minute, then hung up. Dr. Chua asked what that was about, and Remy said, "I don't really know. He threatened me. He said he was going to get me next."
What the fuck does that mean?
So Dr. Chua, of course, was upset and was like, "Who the hell is that? We need to know who it is." And Remy said, "I don't know who it was, but it sounded like somebody from work."
What? I'm just fucking confused.
Yeah, this is a wild case. So the next day, Remy was on the phone with someone at some point, and all of a sudden she hands the phone to her husband, Dr. Chua, and says, "Teresita wants to come back."
Well, what the fuck does that mean?
Yep, so without finishing the phone call, she hands the phone to Dr. Chua and walks back into the bedroom. And Dr. Chua finds Remy again laying on the bed and said, "I am Teresita Basa again." And this time she told him that she was murdered by a man named Alan Showery.
I would have been like, I'm not made for this shit. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Nobody's gonna fucking believe me.
That was the problem. And yeah, Dr. Chua made that argument. So the voice, Teresita, speaking through Remy, said that Alan Showery had come to fix her television, that he'd stabbed her, choked her, and stole some of her jewelry, and again pleaded with him to go to the police. So yeah, exactly what you said. Dr. Chua tried to argue that he couldn't go to the police with this information because no one's going to believe him that the dead woman is speaking to him through his wife. He said he'd have to have proof. And the voice said it could give him proof.
I would be scared shitless. I would have been out of the fuck. I would have fled the state. I would have been out of the country. I would have been in a fucking different country.
Yeah, that's some wild stuff, and that really is a testament to Dr. Chua that he didn't just nope the hell out of there. So, of course, Dr. Chua said, "All right, what is this proof?" So the voice continued talking and described several pieces of jewelry that were stolen, including a ring that her mother had given to her a year before and a pendant.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Then Remy came to and once again had no idea what happened.
You know what? This is the first time I'm speechless. I'm just like, what am I supposed to fucking do?
Mm-hmm. And this actually happened again, a third time the next day.
Jesus Christ. Jesus has full control over this woman.
Yep. And at that point, when Remy came to after this third time, she decided that, this is apparently just going to keep happening until we listen to what Teresita is trying to tell us and we do something and contact somebody about this.
I think the wife had been like, I'm tired of getting possessed. This is annoying.
Yeah, if I were getting possessed every day, I'd be very annoyed with it too. So yeah, that's why I think it was Remy who decided we got to do something about this.
I don't know if I should be scared, laughing, or crying. I just gave 3 different emotions. I don't even know how they're condensed.
Yeah, again, I don't know either. This case is absolutely wild, and I truly have no idea how I would react if something like this happened.
I would have just gave up.
But so anyway, Remy called Rodolfo Sanchez. Wow, we'll pretend I can talk. Who was the Filipino consul at the consulate for the Philippines in the area. So the consul is basically like the head official representative of the consulate. Like I said, a governmental organization for foreign nations to assist citizens of their country, in that foreign country.
Yeah.
So this is a branch of the Filipino government there in the United States in Chicago, there to assist its citizens there. So Remy calls Rodolfo Sanchez, the Filipino consul, and she and Dr. Chua tell them what's going on. And so Sanchez could tell by talking to Remy that she was frightened and confused and didn't sound like this was a crank call of any kind. So Sanchez put in a call to Felipe Deoc, a Filipino officer who worked at police headquarters. So Deoc interviewed Remy over the phone and was satisfied that she didn't appear to be mentally unstable, under the influence, anything like that. So he advised her, okay, look, you're going to have to report this to the police.
Yeah, report. I've been possessed 3 different fucking times. I have a dead woman speaking to my husband, and I'm solving a murder.
Yeah, again, it's odd to go about it, but Deoc started his own investigation and discovered that 3 other Filipino workers at the Edgewater Hospital had also seen apparitions of Teresita, all of them, each time Teresita imploring them for help.
Help me!
Yeah, but none of them were willing to go public for fear of ridicule, and all begged Deoc to keep their conversations confidential.
I hope that was a good representation of what they heard.
It could be. Again, their conversations were kept confidential. All we know is that he talked to 3 other Filipino workers at the hospital who said they saw her.
Help me!
Yeah. But
don't do that. That hurt my vocal cords.
But the Chuas are dealing with something a little different. Remy's getting possessed every day. So at Deoc's advice, the Chuas call Evanston police, because where the Chuas actually lived was Evanston, a suburb of Chicago. So they'd be dealing with Evanston PD. So they called the police and just reported the threatening phone call.
Okay.
Because again, the whole possession thing, how exactly are you going to get that out there?
You know what? Get a detective, say, come here, watch this shit.
So, Detective Floyd McKinney was the one assigned to the case from Evanston PD. They didn't tell him the whole story, but this time again, just about the threatening phone call, and that Remy believed it had come from Alan Showery from work, and that he might have had something to do with Teresita's murder.
You know what? They should have told him, I swear she's been getting possessed. You gotta watch this shit. This is fucking crazy. This is groundbreaking evidence.
Well, again, remember, the Dr. Chua is a doctor at the hospital, and Remy, at least was working as a respiratory therapist there as well. And, they have reputations, they have jobs. That's an odd thing to just tell somebody.
Well, you know what? If it stops my wife getting possessed, fuck it.
So, well, that's what they did. So anyway, Officer McKinney told them he'd investigate, and then went back to the station and asked his lieutenant, Kip McMillan, what they should do about it. McMillan suggested passing the tip on to Chicago PD to say if they were interested, because if what the Chuas had told him was true, then the phone call had likely originated from Chicago, and it would be their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And it's actually unknown if Alan Showery actually made that threatening phone call to the Chuas, or if the Chuas made that part of the story up as a way of introducing Showery's name and what they knew to the police without sounding insane.
Sound like a fucking crazy person.
Yeah, so it's still unknown whether the threatening phone call part of the story is true, or if that was just their avenue that they decided on to get to the police to talk to him. Because, yeah, if you just went to the police and said, oh, yeah, my wife's getting possessed by the dead woman and here's what she's telling us, that's going to sound a little nuts.
He would be in a psychiatric hospital.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? I mean, they probably made it up, and if this worked out, I would be going fucking crazy.
Yeah, so remember, at this point, Detectives Eplin and Stahula are stuck on Teresita's murder investigation. All their leads had dried up, they'd had nothing new to go on since April, and we're now in July. So another officer at the PD is the one who received the information about the call from Evanston PD, and of course he passed it on to Stahula, and even though it sounded like a long shot, Stahula decided to go check it out.
Finally, something cool is gonna happen.
Yep, so he reached out to the Chuas, and on August 5th, Stahula met with the Chuas. And he was mostly talking to Dr. Chua because Remy didn't remember anything that she'd said when she'd had the possession episodes. And initially, Dr. Chua stuck to the story about the threatening phone call and nothing else.
Then his wife gets possessed, and then...
No, but after some pressing from Detective Stahula, Dr. Chua finally leaned toward him and said, "Tell me, Mr. Detective, do you believe in the occult or in exorcism?"
If I was a detective, I'd be shitting my pants. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Well, remember, the detectives had nothing to go on for a few months at this point. And Stahula had said, most of the people he'd interviewed around the apartment, like trying to get information about anything, he said he'd interviewed pimps, prostitutes, drug addicts, and the Chuas were different. That they weren't the usual just run-of-the-mill people making stuff up. This was a doctor and his wife. They work in the medical field. They have a nice house. They're not people who seem like they'd just be making something up.
All right.
So Stahula tells Dr. Chua he's willing to listen, and at that point, Dr. Chua and Remy finally told him everything. They tell him the whole story about the possessions, the voices, the information Teresita was telling them, begging him to help solve the murder, and that Alan Showery was the one who'd done it. And specifically, they tell him that the jewelry that Teresita had mentioned would be the evidence that they needed to tie Showery to the murder.
Ooh.
Yes. They said that Teresita had told them that Showery had given half of the jewelry that was taken to his wife and the other half to his friends. And the jewelry that they would find would included a pendant from the Philippines and a cocktail ring with pearl inlay that Teresita's mother had given to her the year before.
That's a crazy bombshell to drop on a detective.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Teresita had also mentioned the names of several relatives and friends who could identify the jewelry as hers. But Dr. Chua told the detective that the only one he remembered at the time was the last name Somera. And it turns out that Teresita did have a cousin named Ron Somera.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. But Stahula wasn't taking any chances. He decided to ask some questions to Dr. Chua to see if he was maybe making it up. So one of the things he asked her was, okay, did the voice say anything about her killer raping her? And Dr. Chua said, no, she only said that she'd been stabbed. And remember, the condition of her body was made public, but it was not made public that Teresita had not been raped. They found that out in the autopsy. That was Stahula's way of testing whether Dr. Chua was making it up, because there shouldn't have been any way that anybody would know that piece of information.
So this detective is just hearing this, and he's like, well, goddamn.
Yeah, so he's like, goddamn, that doesn't seem like something that somebody who's making it up just based on the information that was released to the public would know.
Yeah, so this is getting crazier.
Uh-huh, it's crazy. So after he finishes the interview, Stahula goes back and reviews Teresita's file again, and he comes across the note again, get tickets for AS. Now they have a name, Alan Showery.
I hope they just do like a huge raid on this dude's house.
Oh, they talk to this guy. They don't do a raid on him, but they do talk to him. And also, while Detective Stahula was talking to the Chuas, Chicago PD had run a routine background check on Alan Showery when the case first came over from Evanston PD. And when that information came back, they found out that Alan Showery in 1964 had gotten charged with burglarizing a store and possession of burglary tools. In 1966, he was charged with possession of stolen mail. In 1971, he had a theft charge. And then in 1972, he had 2 arrests for rape.
He got a big history.
And his last known address and his address on the date of the murder was 445 West Surf Street, a very easy walk from the crime scene.
Hey, come here, buddy. We need to talk to you. I don't know why I just sounded like that.
And then, not terribly relevant to the murder investigation, but they did learn that Showery liked to call himself a doctor, even though he was just a respiratory technician or possibly just an orderly. There's different sources that say different things on that. But either way, not a doctor. But he liked to call himself Dr. Showery and even had his mail addressed to him as Dr. Showery.
He's a fucking phony.
He is a phony.
He's fucking phony. Motherfucker. Hope he got kicked in the balls.
Yeah, I hope he got kicked in the balls too. Well, it took some time to track Alan down. He was no longer at the Surf Street address. But when they finally did track him down and go to talk to him, he seemed perfectly fine with going to the police station to talk about them. And when they got there and asked him to come to the station to speak with them, he even said, "Oh, does this have anything to do with Teresita's murder?"
You fucking idiot.
Yeah, you moron. You moron.
Fucking idiot.
He voluntarily goes with the police. They take him down to an interrogation room. And they tell him, they don't lead off with the, "Oh yeah, we had a ghost tell us that you murdered her." Yeah, they don't lead with that. But they do tell him that after speaking with several of his coworkers, they felt like they needed to speak with him as well. And so they ask him to tell them about his relationship with Teresita and, what had happened the night of her murder. So Alan claimed that he and Teresita were good friends, not dating, just platonic friends, but that the last time he'd seen Teresita outside of work was 6 months ago. Yeah, well, the police did what police interrogators do, and they called his bluff on that. They were bluffing, but they said, no, it's not been 6 months. We found your fingerprints at the apartment, and there is no way those fingerprints were 6 months old. This was a total bluff, but it worked. Alan immediately revised his story and told them that, yes, he had actually ridden home with her on the bus that day, and he was supposed to go to her apartment to fix her TV, but he'd forgotten, and instead he spent the night fixing the electric wiring in his own apartment, and his girlfriend, maybe common law wife, sources differ on that, could verify that story. And this, children, is why you never voluntarily talk to the police.
Yeah.
Make them get a warrant for you. Make them get a subpoena for you. Talk to an attorney first. If the police ask you to come down to the station and talk to them, you do not have to talk to them. Don't do it.
You got a warrant? No? Okay. Get a warrant.
Yeah. Don't do it. But anyway, yeah. So, new story. Yes, he'd ridden home with her on the bus that day. She'd asked him to come fix the TV. He forgot. He spent the night fixing his own electric wiring. So, while the police are keeping him there in the station, Stahula goes over and goes to talk to the girlfriend / common law wife himself. Her name was Yanka Kalmuk, and so he goes over to the apartment to talk to her. And so they show up, both Eplin and Stahula go to talk to her, and they ask her and they tell her that, that they have Alan down at the station, there's some stuff about the Teresita murder that they're figuring out. And they say, we're coming here to you because, you can help us out with him, making it sound like, oh, if we just clear some things up, we'll let him go.
Yeah.
So they ask her if Alan had done any work on the wiring in their apartment the night Teresita died. And Yanka was very confused and said, no, we never had any trouble with the electricity in that apartment at all. He never did any work on the wiring there at all.
She cooked him.
Mm-hmm. And then they ask if they can see her jewelry box. So she says, yes, of course. And they ask her to come down to the police station with the jewelry box where, Alan was waiting. And they say, oh, yeah, hopefully we can straighten all this up. So she goes with them to the police station with the jewelry box. And so at that point, they have other police trying to contact people who might be able to identify this jewelry because the police have, vague descriptions of like a pendant and a ring. They don't really know what they're looking for. So they tried to contact Ron Samara, the cousin, but he couldn't get down to the station right away. And remember, time is of the essence. They haven't officially arrested Showery yet. He's just there voluntarily. So he can technically get up and leave anytime he wants if he thinks things are going south for him. So they have a limited amount of time to work with. So they start trying everybody they can get, anybody who can get down there to identify the jewelry. They try Kenneth Basa, another one of her cousins. He doesn't answer. They keep going through her list of family and friends and finally make it to a man named Richard Pizzotti, who was a friend she'd gone out with a few times. And he came down to the police station, was looking through the jewelry box, said he didn't see anything he recognized. But then as he was about to leave, he noticed a ring on Yanka's finger and immediately said, yeah, that's Teresita's ring.
Goddamn.
Yeah. This SOB took her ring and gave it to his maybe wife, maybe girlfriend.
Well, goddamn.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a fucking shitty person?
Oh, yeah. That is a shitty person. So, of course, the detectives ask Yanka about it, and she said that Alan had given it to her as a belated Christmas gift sometime in February. Remember when the murder was? February.
He's fucking cooked. He's going to prison.
He is cooked. By this point, the police had gotten in touch with the cousin, Kenneth Basa, and he also made his way down to the station. And so Yanka, of course, let the police take the ring, and Basa also identified the cocktail ring as the one Teresita's mother had given to her. The cousin, Kenneth Basa, looked through the jewelry box, and he found the jade pendant that, Teresita had mentioned as one that would tie Alan to her murder, and as well as a few other items he said maybe belonged to Teresita, but definitely the ring and definitely the pendant were Teresita's.
Holy shit.
Yes. And detectives returned to Alan, still in his own interrogation room, and asked him about the ring, and if taking the ring from the dead woman and giving it to his girlfriend wasn't bad enough, he tried to claim, no, I bought it from some guy on the street for $28.
What?
Yeah.
He was probably shitting his pants when they found that ring.
He was probably shitting his pants at that point, because that was a terrible lie. But detectives Eplin and Stahula weren't having that. They called him out on his BS. Said, nope, we have the ring, we have the pendant. Your girlfriend had them in her possession, and we know about your supposed alibi being bullshit. She told us you never had trouble with the wiring at your apartment. You never fixed it there. And at that point, Showery confessed to the murder of Teresita.
How many years did he get?
Oh, we'll get there. But there's still more to go on this. So he claimed that, yes, Teresita had asked him to go over and look at her TV. So he had gone over to her apartment, planning to do that. But on the way there, he realized he would need his tools. So he went back to his apartment, got his tools, went back to Teresita's. This was all maybe around 7:30. And then he said, while on the way back to her apartment, he just decided that he was going to rob her.
How do you make that decision?
Well, he said that he came to this decision because he had been helping Teresita obtain her citizenship papers. She'd been working on getting U.S. citizenship, not just having to be here on a visa. And he had driven her to the naturalization office several times, and he noticed that each time he drove her, she would give him a small cash tip, maybe about $5 to $10. And he assumed that meant she had money.
It's $5 to $10. It ain't that much, bud.
Still, he assumed that she had money and it was probably hidden in her apartment. So, and he said at the time of the murder, he was broke, he was behind on bills, and he was desperate.
Damn.
So he said once he got back with his tools and Teresita let him in and she'd closed the door, he grabbed her from behind in a chokehold and did that until she lost consciousness. And at that point, he ransacked the apartment looking for money, but all he found was $30 and what he thought was some expensive-looking jewelry.
Fucking bum.
Fucking bum. So he said he didn't know what to do, so he carried her into the bedroom, took her clothes off to make it look like a case of rape, got the knife from the kitchen, and stabbed her.
Okay.
Yeah. And this motherfucker, he tried to claim that Teresita was subconscious and didn't feel anything. Can't even get his words right. Subconscious, not unconscious.
How the fuck does that work?
Yeah, this motherfucker. How the hell does he know she didn't feel anything? He can't even get his words right. And this motherfucker works at a hospital. Maybe a respiratory therapist technician, maybe an orderly. In any event, he works at a hospital. And he can't even get the words right with subconscious and unconscious.
Subconscious means you're kind of awake.
No, subconscious means it's the mind working that you're not fully aware of. Unconscious means you're out.
Yeah, he's a fucking bum.
Yeah, fucking bum. Yep, then he said he piled some clothes on her, set fire to a paper bag that he put on top of the clothes, and once he'd made sure that that was starting to catch fire, fled the apartment.
$30? Dude, $30 fucking dollars?
Yeah, for $30 and a couple pieces of jewelry.
That he didn't even sell.
That he didn't even sell. Yeah. This motherfucker. So, of course, the detectives had to make sure that Showery wasn't making this up, wasn't just describing things he'd heard in the press. So they asked him about things, and he was able to accurately describe details that had never been released to the press. So Stahula and the other detectives believes he was telling the truth. For example, he was able to describe details of the apartment that had never been leaked to the press. He claimed he undressed her so that it would look like a sex crime, but that he had never raped her. That detail was not released. He had been able to describe what Teresita had been wearing, and he identified the jewelry items that he stole. All of this, which had never made its way to the press.
Oh, goddamn.
Yep, but just to be sure, they made him walk through the whole story a second time, and nothing about his story changed. So at that point, they placed him under arrest.
Well, it can't get worse. Wait. Does it end here?
Oh no, we'll talk about the trial, but before we do that, this, children, is a prime example of why you never voluntarily talk to the police. Chicago PD got lucky that Showery and Yanka just agreed to go talk to them, because imagine trying to get a warrant to go pick this guy up and talk to him with the evidence that, in the way that the evidence came to them.
Yeah, a fucking ghost told this woman and this dude that this murdered woman got murdered, and this is how it happened.
Yeah, yes, Judge. Please issue a warrant for us to go talk to this guy and demand that he talks to us, because we talked to some people who claimed that his wife got possessed by the woman who was murdered, and she told us that this guy was the murderer.
The judge would laugh at you.
Yeah. So Chicago PD really got lucky that that Showery was overly confident and willing to go talk to them.
What he wasn't expecting is a ghost to fuck him over.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting a ghost to fuck him over and identify the jewelry that he'd taken. But I would love to do a study on how many criminals get caught due to their overconfidence and the willingness to seem cooperative with the PD. So let this be a lesson to you, children. Even if you're innocent and you think there's even the slimmest chance that you might be implicated in something, shut the fuck up. Do not voluntarily talk to the police. If they want to talk to you, tell them you will speak to an attorney first, and only then will you talk to them after you consult with the attorney.
This could fuck us over both ways, because we could be telling what if a criminal's listening?
Even if you're not, Derek, I just said, even if you're not a criminal, even if you are completely innocent, and you're just even worried in the slightest that the police might get the wrong idea, shut the fuck up, talk to an attorney first.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Even if you are innocent about something and you begin talking to the police, and then you get a bad feeling like they're maybe looking at you the wrong way, you do not have to continue talking to them. It is voluntary. At that point, shut the fuck up and tell them you're not answering any more questions until you talk to an attorney.
Yeah, let me talk to an attorney.
Yeah. And if the police, if you're already talking to them and then you tell them, yeah, I'm not talking to you anymore, and they try to press you and say you have to keep talking to them, nope, that's a lie. You do not. If you're there voluntarily talking to them, you can leave anytime. And if they threaten you saying they have enough to arrest you right now, call their bluff. Yeah. If they have enough to arrest you, ask them, am I being arrested right now? Am I being detained? If not, you are free to go. Because if they have enough to arrest you, they'll just do it.
Yeah.
They'll just do it. They don't need you to just come in and talk to them voluntarily. So again, shut the fuck up.
All right, to the trial.
Yeah, if you are engaged with the police, pretend you are an NPC and your one and only voice line is, I want to speak to an attorney first.
Okay, moving on to the trial now about this murder.
Yes, so I've went on my rant about why you don't voluntarily talk to the police. Okay, so even though it worked out, in everyone's benefit in this situation, unless you actually are the criminal, in which case, yes, go talk to the police.
Yeah, talk to them. Tell them what you did.
Go talk to them. So, the detectives felt they had enough evidence to present to the district attorneys for prosecution, but they still faced the problem of explaining how they knew to investigate Showery and look for the pieces of jewelry in his possession. Yeah, because how exactly do you explain that? So,
well, here, I'll break it down. Well, Judge, we kind of went to this woman's house because her husband called saying they had some evidence, and then they told us about what happened, and then they broke the evidence saying she got possessed by the woman who got murdered, and then we found out, all this other evidence, and that's how we came onto it. Just believe me, this shit actually happened.
Yeah, it's wild. But anyway, the case got assigned to Cook County, because that's the county they're in. Cook County District Attorney Thomas Organ, who was at first understandably skeptical. He said he'd never seen anything like this in 5 years as a prosecutor. But he did his research, he investigated the case, and he had to admit that he believed the Chuas and Chicago PD's claims about the case. And so the district attorney's office ultimately moved forward. They charged Showery with arson, robbery, and murder.
Well, you know why I took in Cook County? Because that dude was about to get fucking cooked!
Well, he did end up getting cooked. The case was assigned to the Cook County Circuit Court. I have not been able to find the court number or the docket number, the cause number for the case, which irritates me for reasons I will get into later. But it was under Judge Frank W. Barbaro. And incidentally, this judge had been nicknamed Barbecue Barbaro because he was known for tough sentencing on defendants, including one 500 to 1,000-year sentence, which was the first 4-digit sentence ever handed down in Cook County.
He gave somebody 1,000 fucking years?
Yeah, I'm going to have to investigate that one at some point and see what the hell that was issued for, because goddamn.
1,000 fucking years. You're fucking dead 5 times over.
Yeah, because goddamn. So, Showery initially pled guilty, but later retracted both his confession and changed his plea to not guilty. So a trial goes underway.
So what happened?
So first they get to a pretrial hearing on September 7th of 1978, where one of the defense attorneys, William Swano, again, I have not found any information on who head counsel was supposed to be. I will get to reasons why that pisses me off in a minute, but defense attorney William Swano filed a motion to have the charges dismissed based on the unusual circumstances in which the evidence leading to the charges was obtained.
Fuck you.
Yeah, my guess is this was most likely a motion to dismiss for lack of evidence, because if they get it kicked out based on how they arrived at to investigate Alan and whether to look for this jewelry in the first place, then everything they find after that can't be used, and that's the only thing tying him to the case. So it's most likely a motion to dismiss for lack of evidence. But again, I can't be sure because I can't find the actual case records for Cook County for their criminal cases. Because Cook County has lots of stuff online for lots of other cases, but not their stuff for criminal records.
That sounds like Chicago.
Yes, and it pisses me off because I wanted to make sure I get this stuff right, because I have a law degree, this is what I do, but I can't find it because their shit's not online. So the only way I can get the actual court records is to know what the hell the cause number is, which I don't, because that was never reported in any of the newspapers or anything. And so the only way I can find that is I have to trot my happy ass up to Cook County in Chicago and sit down at one of the little computer kiosk terminals that they have in the clerk's office and find the cause number that way so I can request the information on the case. But I don't have time to go to Chicago and do that right now.
Well, you know why they don't have it on there? Because there's too many criminal cases to count.
Yes, but it makes me upset because I wanted to be able to find the actual details on the stuff that happened with the trial, and I can't do it.
Well, goddamn.
So I have to rely on secondhand reports instead of just being able to read the court documents for myself.
Your second rant. Usually I rant about things, but this is your episode.
Yes, apparently this is a ranty episode for me. But God fucking damn it, Cook County. Okay, so anyway, yeah, pretrial hearing, they moved to dismiss the cases. They argue that, and the defense's primary argument is that Remy Chua had faked everything, seeking attention because she was stressed at work in retaliation for being fired. And Swano, the defense attorney, said, "Never, to my knowledge, has a man been arrested because of a supernatural vision. Police have never before been informed of a criminal's name by a voice from the grave." Yeah, but yes, thank you, Derek. But District Attorney Thomas Organ, who was the one prosecuting the case had been assigned to him, argued that regardless of the circumstances in which, the evidence had come to them, police had pursued a viable lead, and all the evidence that they obtained from investigating that lead had been obtained legally. So illegal people out there, no fruit of the poisonous tree. So any evidence they'd obtained from that gave them probable cause to arrest Showery.
That defense attorney didn't listen hard enough. That's why he didn't hear the voices.
Yeah, that's it. He just didn't listen hard enough. Yep. And Dr. Chua was called to testify both at this pretrial hearing and at the eventual trial, and told his story about what had happened. Ultimately, the request to dismiss the charges was denied, and Showery was ordered to stand trial.
I'm back. I forgot to make this joke. Fuck! She came up from the grave like the Undertaker.
Instead of the dead man, it was the dead woman.
Yeah, that's a gimmick. They need that gimmick. Can we? If Triple H is listening, can we get a dead woman gimmick like the Undertaker?
Okay, brief WWE pause. Who would you pick as the dead woman in the WWE?
Huh. Didn't think about that. Hot take here about Alexa Bliss because she's played a supernatural gimmick before.
I can see that. Yeah, she did the whole supernatural thing. She had the thing going on with the Fiend for a while.
Fuck, you had to remind me of Bray Wyatt's
I'm
death.
sorry. I am sad about Bray Wyatt. I'm not really a wrestling fan, but I liked Bray Wyatt. I liked the Fiend. He was cool.
Yeah, she could do it.
Okay.
Or
all
maybe
right.
Rhea Ripley.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, she has the height. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, she does have the height to pull that off.
But
Okay.
it'd be weird.
But anyway, so request to dismiss the charges at pretrial hearing denied. Moving on to trial. Trial commenced on January 8th, 1979 to much media attention, obviously.
Holy shit! That woman. Fuck!
That woman is solving her own murder. But yeah, so at trial, Organ knew he had an uphill battle. He tried to minimize the supernatural aspects of the case and kept trying to bring the focus back to the facts of the crime itself. That when confronted with undeniable proof of his involvement, the jewelry and the uncorroborated alibi, that Showery had given both an oral and written confession, and he has the jewelry. How else would he have gotten that?
And he folded like a bitch.
He did. He folded like a bitch. The defense claimed that Showery had been arrested based on nothing more than Chua's unbelievable story of possession, and that Showery had only confessed to spare his wife, girlfriend, whatever she was, from being implicated in the murder and possibly arrested, so she wouldn't have to have their children in jail, because apparently she was pregnant at the time.
Help me.
Yeah, but that was a BS defense, because again, it was the same argument that they had gone through in the pretrial motion. Just because the police got a tip on who to investigate by supernatural means doesn't mean that any investigation they did after that had been done unlawfully. Remember, they went to Showery's house and just asked to talk to him. He went with them willingly to the police station and talked to them willingly.
Help me.
They went back and talked to his girlfriend. She willingly showed them the jewelry, and they got people down there who could identify it.
See, that was the line she was just saying over and over again, is help me. I was just trying to reenact that.
Well done. But yeah, so that argument from the defense was BS. So they also tried to discredit Remy again, saying she'd made the whole thing up. But, even if it had been made up, even if Remy had made it up, even if, it ended up being something weird, even if she had made it up just to, get back at the hospital or whatever, if the detectives thought that it was a viable lead and they went to investigate it and then Showery did what he did and just started talking to him, it really wouldn't have mattered. They were investigating a lead, and that lead led to the evidence. Just because the lead was supernatural, or even if it had been entirely made up, it was still just a lead they went to investigate. And Showery's own dumbass stupidity talking to him is what led him to the actual evidence, the jewelry, that got him convicted.
Fuck that motherfucker.
Yeah. But he wasn't convicted yet. So, trial started on January 8th. On Friday, January 29th, the trial had ended, and the jury went to deliberate. And after 13 hours, they reported back that they were hopelessly deadlocked.
13 fucking hours and can't come up with an answer? Who was on the fucking jury?
Yep. I don't know. I could find out if I could get to the court records. Cook County.
Who are these motherfuckers? 13 hours. They had 13 hours to decide. The evidence is right in front of them.
But yeah, they were deadlocked. So the judge dismissed the jury, and a new trial was set for February 14th. So February 14th rolls around, and the judge orders a continuance. I don't know how it came about. I don't know which party requested it. I don't know if it was the court's doing, because I can't get to the court records. But they get a continuance, and then a few days later, on February 21st, Showery asks his attorney to arrange a meeting with the judge and the DA.
21st?
21st. We'll pretend I can talk. So, the next day, Showery, against the advice of his counsel, pled guilty to Teresita Basa's murder.
That fucking
Again.
bitch.
Yeah. He gave no explanation. He gave no explanation as to why. He just suddenly decided to plead guilty to the murder.
She possessed him.
Or maybe she was haunting him by that point.
And he was like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah. But anyway, but regardless, even though he gave no explanation, he pled guilty. The DA confirmed that there was not an active plea offer at this time. There was no plea deal on the table. The DAs really should have had something in place. We'll get to that in a minute. But the defense counsel asked Judge Barbaro for leniency. And again, because I can't get to the court records, I'm not exactly sure what the sentencing was. Some sources say it was 4 to 12 years to run concurrently for the charges of arson and robbery, and that he was not actually convicted of the murder. But then there are other sources that said it was 4 years each for the arson and robbery and 14 for the murder, all to run concurrently.
Second option's probably true.
Yeah, but again, I can't find the court records, Cook County, so I don't know.
Stop cooking Cook County.
They don't. Cook County doesn't have online criminal records. I can cook them all I want. I'm pissed that I can't find the actual records.
Well, you should stop cooking Cook County.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's Chicago. They have murders probably every fucking day. You think they keep up with criminal records?
They should.
They don't give a shit.
Okay, but anyway, concurrently, first of all, first problem, this murder that he did, and the sentences are running concurrently, meaning they're running at the same time. He doesn't get done with one and then has to serve the next one. Bullshit. And then it's also thought that although they didn't have a formal plea bargain on the table, there was likely some discussion among the attorneys and the judge, and the prosecution was likely agreeable to a lesser sentence considering that they'd already had one mistrial due to a deadlocked jury. So DAs, that's why you have a plea deal that it has at least been discussed, so you don't get something stupid like 4 to 12 years.
Yeah, I don't know how to comment on this, but yeah, what she said.
But yeah, that's why they should at least have a plea deal that has been discussed, even if it's not really being looked at anymore. But anyway, Showery served the minimum of 4 years and was paroled in 1983.
Cool.
No, not cool.
You know what?
That jackass served 4 years and then got out.
He probably got hit by a car or something.
I don't know. But that is the end of the story. That is the end of the murder of Teresita Basa and how she assisted in solving her own murder from beyond the grave.
Yeah, you know what? Shit happened. That's all I gotta say. I don't even remember what the fuck I said half an hour ago.
Do you believe in ghosts being able to help solve their own murder now, though?
Sure, why not?
Like I said, I want to see these court records because the Dr. Chua testified, and this is all in the court transcripts on court records. So, God damn it, I really want to see these actual court records. I'm just mad at Cook County now for this.
Like I said, stop cooking Cook County.
No.
Yes.
No.
Fine. Let's meet in the middle.
Okay, fine. I am done cooking Cook County for now because we need to end this podcast now. So that was the story of Teresita Basa and how she helped solve her own murder from beyond the grave.
Yeah, shit happened.
Shit happened. Thank you for listening.